The engagement with the community is very important, and the community becomes your audience, and working back and forth between you in a kind of call and response is very important and crucial. For example, when working in Zimbabwe, in Binga, we were working with a group of female weavers, and so therefore you become conscious of the way in which they engage. Sometimes they're sitting down and they have the cloth that is their lapa, or the wrapper that they wrap around, and it looks like a skirt one moment. When they're dancing, they'll use that. The next moment they'll be sitting down and they open out the wrapper and they use it almost like a blanket to cover their laps. But also it means that whether they're wearing a short dress or they're wearing trousers or whatever, they're kind of covering their modesty. So therefore you start to see those cultural traits coming through. But also it means that you know that they are conscious of how they move. And this is important because sometimes as an artist you have to take on board what the needs are within the audience that is engaging you. Sometimes when you do movements, there are some people that when you ask them to join in, they're resistant to joining in because they prefer to watch, and they might sing along, but they're not going to join in if you ask them to get up and start to do a movement. But then also you have to be aware of who is in the audience. Sometimes there are people with disabilities. Now, if I'm working with an audience and I see people with disabilities, rather than doing a movement where everybody has to stand up and start moving around, I know that they won't be able to do that. So I concentrate on movements where you might just use the arms. So it might be something like the Senegambian movement, where you do up, down, and you might get them to move the hands out, in, up, down, and out and in. So everybody can do that. If you're in a wheelchair, you can join. Then it's fine to then say, those who can stand, can you stand? And you might do a leg movement or a movement using the feet that is in combination with the arms, so that those who are not able to actually move and use their legs, they can still feel as if they're dancing along with everybody else. So being able to assess what kind of audience you have is very important. If there's resistance to movement, then you concentrate more on the musical side. If there's resistance to music, then you concentrate more on the storytelling side, and you get them to be able to join in just by repeating something after you. And that way it means that you are still engaging them, but you don't make them feel uncomfortable, or worse, and they might feel uncomfortable if they're forced to do a movement, so they might not do it, but they may feel left out if you continue to do things that they can't join in with. So it's about reading the audience and making sure you engage all elements of the audience.